Hi, I'm Tom Viviano from Bucks County, Pennsylvania, and author of a recent book, Fortuitous Misfortunes. I'd like to tell you about my father dying when I was 11 years old. Well, my dad was 68 when I was born, so he was a much older man. And then he ended up with diabetes and other illnesses. And then the struggle became kind of after he died was, having a mother that probably was very inept at raising children on her own and certainly at making a living, and wasn't able to provide for us 5 children. It was myself and 4 sisters. My older sister, unfortunately, was subjected to a little bit of prostitution, because my mother had no other means of raising money for the family. So she was the oldest. So it's very painful because here's a young girl, probably anywhere from 16 to 19, that was going through this, and she ended up dying at the age of 25. She just was so much of inside a shell at that point that she was so violated. So a lot of times there wasn't the necessities of life, basically, the food and that type of stuff. I didn't want to go to school because, we were kind of picked on in school, for, having the raggedy clothes and not having what everybody else had. And so as a result, I missed most of my 6th grade year that year. Immediately after my father died, I didn't spend a whole lot of time mourning and so forth and grieving. But I think my anger sort of surfaced. I kind of stole from my mother, stay out late at night, kind of hung around with kids I probably shouldn't have hung around with, and so forth. So that was kind of my way of, I guess, dealing with that, with the death. I was headed for no good, I really was, So so the idea is to, basically when Milton Hershey came along, it kind of really saved my life, so it was a good thing for me, And maybe if it wasn't for that, who knows, I might have been, dead or in prison, or maybe someone else would have came along, and kind of provided an out, from that for me, that sort of thing. Milton Hershey's idea was to take in young orphaned or semi-orphaned boys and kind of teach them a trade, and so that they can, when they graduated, they could support themselves. I began to look at other people in my life, and as I could, read a little passage, my acknowledgement, from the book. Basically, my acknowledgement says, I'd like to thank all the people with whom I've shaken hands with, who, while unbeknownst to them, became a mentor, a father, a mother, a friend, or a counselor. So I think when your father dies, or you lose a parent, mother or father, you begin to look at other people as role models and so forth. And I was fortunate enough for some reason to want to take those best qualities, from the people that I met. For some reason, maybe an angel was guiding me to make sure I followed all the good qualities. I ended up taking education very seriously. After graduating from high school, I kind of went to college for a couple of years, then went into the service, and then came out and just continued my education right up through a PhD. I think that I went through a lot of years of feeling like I wasn't enough, that I lived with a lot of guilt, from the things that I went through as a child. I kind of felt like, an extreme level of shame and guilt for a lot of years. And in order to put up this facade and hide behind all of these great things that I could do, kind of helped me get by. Those were the struggles that I had. But it didn't have to be that way. That people love you for who you are, and just be the better you. Whether it be a good son or a good friend, and all those types of things. And people are gonna accept you, because if you're nothing without those things, you're gonna be nothing with them. Change your attitude about being a victim. Don't be a victim. Just accept what you have, who you are, and so forth, and work within the parameters. I'd practice vulnerability, and that's basically the idea that you're open to danger, that you're open to ridicule and that sort of thing, because you don't get the courage until you've passed a bit of vulnerability. You have to get through that first. And no matter what you want to do in life, whether it's an athletic event that you want to be good at or whatever, you have to take risks and practice being vulnerable. And people see your vulnerability and they fall in love with it. Because they know that you're human, that you're authentic. Adversity does build character. know that that's only temporary, and you're going to bounce back from this, and you'll end up a better person, for going through what you went through.